Today we're going to be creating a 3D character using Blender. We're going to be creating this Among Us character. When we model 3D, there are many ways to get to the same result. So I'm going to be showing you the one that I find the easiest for this specific character. However, keep in mind that there are many paths to get to the same result.
First thing we need to do is go to Blender. When you open Blender, by default you get this view, and you want to choose General because this is the one that works for 3D creations. So as you can see, we have 3 axes here, X, Y, and Z, and here by default we have a cube. So now I'm gonna go through some of the tools. Here on our upper left corner we have a tab where we have different modes. There are several of them, but today we're going to be using Object and Edit mode. These are the main two to model 3D. We also have this tool that helps us move the object, this one for rotation, and this one for scaling. We're also going to be using some tools from our left. And yeah, basically that's it. So, if we click here over this axis, if we click here for the Y, and if we want to have a look from the top, we click C, but I want to go back to X, which is kind of the front. So using the object mode, I'm going to click here and I'll bring my cube to the top. I think this is good. This will be our body. Today we're going to be dividing our task in 4 main sections. Number 1 will be body. Number 2, legs. Number 3, the face and the back. And finally, our color. So this is going to be our body. I think it looks good. When we use 3D modeling, we need to keep in mind that we have 3 main things we're going to be moving or modifying. So let's go into edit mode and I'll be explaining them deeper here. We have entire faces. This is a cube and this one has 6 faces. We also have edges, which are these lines, and each of these dots, it's called a vertex. We can move them around to make whatever we want. So let's go back to object mode. So now we need to modify this cube to create polygons around it. So here on our left, we're going to click where it says modifiers. We're going to go up to add a new one, generate, and we're going to select the one that says subdivision surface. After I click on this, you'll see what happens. It's kind of a sphere now. So each of these faces is called a polygon because they have several sides or edges. And it doesn't look our character, but we'll make it look like that. Now, from here, we want to stretch it. If I were to make the entire shape bigger, I will use object mode. However, as I'm going to make it longer, I'll go into edit mode and click my scale tool. I'm going to click on our blue axis and bring it up. Looks good now. Yeah, this looks good. We're also going to stretch the green axis to make it wider. And now we need to make 2 cuts. For that, we're going to select our object again, and we're going to press Ctrl R. And after clicking Ctrl R once, you can see this horizontal yellow line that goes around my object, but if I move a little, it'll be vertical. There we go. But we want it to be horizontal for this purpose, and click once, and we're gonna drag it down. That looks similar to what we're looking for. Good. And let's make another one. So once again, Ctrl R, click here, drag it a little up, and I think we're good right now. But the head is also a little smaller, so we want to shrink that one. We're going to select the upper face. On our options, we have 3 buttons. First one, if we click on this one, we're going to be able to select any vertex and just the vertex. If I choose the second one, I can click on an edge, but if I click on the third one, I'm selecting the entire face. So we need that one, and then we're going to click our S key. How I like to remember this shortcut is like shrinking, and I'm gonna little to the inside to make it smaller. And yeah, I think this looks pretty good. Right now our figure does not look smooth, but don't worry, we're gonna fix that later. Right now we're begging about the main shape. I'll show you how to make it smooth. Let's go back to object mode and make it a little to the top. And this looks good, and now we can work on the legs. Okay, for the legs, we need to add a new shape. So once again, we're gonna go Shift A, go to where it says mesh, and the ones that resemble the legs the most would be cylinder. So we're gonna select that one, click there, and I will scale it. Once again, click on S, shrinking which is not shrinking, make it smaller. I think this works, and now let's bring it to the right. Let's make it longer. We need our scale tool. Click on scale, drag the blue axis to the top, and let's see if this works. From the side view it looks good, but it's too wide, so we're gonna scale the green one a little, make it thinner, and yeah, I think this works for now. This works for now. So just let's bring it a little to the top so it's inside our character. And I want to make this edge to be smaller, so let's go back to edit mode, and we're going to be selecting the edge that goes around the leg. For that we need to make sure we're on the second option, which is the one for edges. So I'm going to click here. If you click Shift, you'll be able to select all of them, but also if you click Control, you'll be able to skip some of them. So let's, instead of doing it one by one, I'm going to click Control so I can select several of the edges at the same time. And there we go. Let's click S and make it a little smaller, and I like it like this. Good. So now, yeah, this looks good. Let's go back to object mode. However, we're still missing the other leg. I'm just want to bring it a little to the top. We're going to select everything and drag it with our blue axis. We're good. Yeah, so for the other leg, this character has an axis of symmetry, and that's pretty awesome because I don't have to do the work twice. So we're gonna select this leg and we're gonna mirror that leg. For that, we're gonna be using a new modifier. So whatever we have here, we're gonna be mirroring it to the other side. So let's click where it says add modifier, generate, go down to mirror. But we need to choose the axis where we're gonna be mirroring my leg. Here, instead of X, we wanna select Y. So we enable X and select Y, and then with this dropper, we need to select a reference. So we're gonna be using the body as a reference. So as soon as I click here, I have the leg on the other side. But they're quite apart, so let's go back to move. If I move one of them, the other one is gonna be moved as well, because this is kind of a mirror. So I just click where it says move, bring them closer, and I think that's good. Yeah, it looks good. Now we have a body with two legs. I want to bring this part of the head a little to the back. For this, I need to entire just a part of the shape. So let's go back to edit mode, click here, Oh no. No, let's go back to our object mode because I cannot select from here. Let's go back to object mode, select the body and into edit mode, and we want to select just one of the faces. So let's try selecting this face. So third option here, click on my face and drag the red axis to the back, and yep, I like it here. Good. Good. Now we have the body and the legs. So let's go back to object mode and we're gonna be working on the bag. Again, we need a new shape, so let's go Shift A, mesh, and we'll use a cube because our bag will be looking like a cube. Let's bring it to the back, to the top, and we have to shrink it. So let's press S and make it smaller. Good. But this is too thick, so let's make it thinner. Click select scale over our red axis. This is good. And also let's move it closer to the body for now. And I don't want it to look like a bug, so we're going to be using a tool that we've used previously. So we can either go Ctrl+2 or go to our modifiers, add a new one, which is the same one we've been using, subdivision surface. But this is kind of donut, well, without the hole. So let's go back to edit mode and add again 2 cuts. So let's go Ctrl+R. I don't want them to be horizontal, I want them to be vertical. So click here, drag it to our left. We need another one, same thing, vertical, Ctrl+R. If I move around here, it goes from vertical to horizontal, so let's leave it here. One click and drag it to the right. And I think looks better now. So now we're gonna go back to our object mode and bring it apart from the body. Here, actually, we don't need this side of the bag. So let's go back to edit mode and we're gonna delete these faces. So let's zoom in. I wanna delete these 3 faces. Let's choose our face option, select this one, pressing Shift, select the second one and the third one. If we want to delete things here in Blender, we need to press our X key. So let's press X and then choose only faces. And as you can see, we don't have these back faces. And that's what we were looking, because this one will go right next to the body. So let's go back to our object mode and bring the back closer to the body. Also a little to the top, and we also want to rotate this back so that it makes more sense. Let's click rotate tool and rotate it a little bit, and I like it here. Maybe we can scale it a little more to make it wider. Let's drag it. And as you can see here, we have a tiny space. So let's go back to the move tool and bring it a little closer to the body. Once again, this doesn't look smooth, but don't worry, we'll fix it in a few minutes. A little more in, rotate it a bit more, and we don't see that space anymore. So I think we are, no, there is a little space there. So back to move, back in, and yeah, that works. Looks good. Good. Let's add a new shape for our face. Once again, we're gonna choose cube, bring it to the front, to the top, and we need to scale it. That works for now. And we want to make it thinner, so let's go back to scale, move our red axis from the other view. We also need to move the blue axis. Yeah, I think this size works for now. We need to not make it look like a box, so let's use the same modifier. Let's go to subdivision surface. Once again, we have an odd shape, so let's go back to edit mode for our cuts. And once again, Control R, we need a vertical code here. Let's drag it to the left. And same thing, once again, Control R, vertical option, drag it to the right. And again, I want to delete these three faces, so I'm going to click here on the face option, select the three faces, selecting Shift, X for delete just the face, and let's bring it. Yeah, that looks good. Maybe it's too wide here, so let's go back to object mode, and we're gonna scale it a little. Looks fine for me. We're gonna rotate it a little bit. And now finally we're gonna move it closer to the body, to the top, using the blue axis. Let's see, we have some space there. Yeah, so let's bring it back closer to the body. And good. Now we have our character. If we want to make smooth the surface of our character, we have two options. So for the first one, I'm going to select everything, making sure I'm in object mode, and I'm going to go right click and click where it says auto smooth. If I click here, all the polygons are going to be like blurred, but we can still see some of them. So let's go blur. So now we want to increase the amount of polygons. So let's select all our shapes and click add modifier, and once again choose the subdivision surface. This will double the amount of polygons in our shapes. So whenever I click here, you'll see the effect. It looks much better. And now we have more polygons there, so I'm going to select everything, right click, and smooth all the surface with this option, and it looks pretty nicer. However, here on the back we still see some lines, so we want to increase the amount of polygons there. Let's select the back, go to our modifiers, and once again choose the subdivision surface one, and yes, I like what we see now. Maybe this line here needs more polygons, so same option. Let's go to add modifier, go down to surface, subdivision of surface, and now the body looks quite smooth. And let's do the same thing for the face, subdivision surface, looks pretty good. However, we have a tiny space here, so let's fix it. I'm gonna select my bag and let's make it a little thinner, give it a look, and yeah, it looks fine. Now comes the fun part. Let's add some color. I need a new tab over here. So on our left, we're going to be working on our character, and on the right, we're going to be working on our textures or materials. So I need to make sure to enable the render view. That one is this second or third sphere here. So we're going to click on that one, and this is how our character looks right now. And on the right one, I'm going to click this menu and select the shader editor option. Let's make it a little wider. And same thing here on our right, we need to click the same button that looks like the render one, and that one will open the code for our colors. So let's click there and zoom out a little. Here is the block for our code, and let's zoom in here. As you can see, our character right now it's white, and that color matches this white box. So we're gonna click here and choose our color. Today we're gonna be using red because our reference was a red character, and I think I like this shade. Yep, that works. And here on the right where it says material, I'm gonna rename it. So I'm gonna double click and rename it for red because we're gonna be using the same material for the legs and for the back. Double click, click enter. Let's click on the legs, go back to the texture materials, and I don't want to create a new one because I already have the red one. So let's click here and select the one we've been using, and same thing for the bag. So click on it, go to our options and select red. Good. The only thing we're missing is some color for our face. Let's click face, and here we do need a new material because we don't have anyone created for this shade. So let's click to where it says new. Once again, it opens our code for the color. Click on the white box. As you can see, we don't have black in here, so we need to drag this option on the right until we get a shade we like. I think this one is fine, and I'm gonna rename it. Double click over material and rename it black. Good, and now we have our Among Us character. Looks pretty fair, and I hope you like it.